Dire wolves now walk among us. Revolutionize conservation or ethical Pandora's box?
This could change how we save wildlife. Stay for the twist.
A lone howl echoes across a moonlit forest. It's not an ordinary wolf. It's a creature thought lost forever ago.
Dire wolves, apex predators vanished for millennia, now walk among us. Two pups, Romulus and Remus, have been brought back. Is this revival a groundbreaking leap for conservation or an ethical Pandora's box? These twins, raised by science, flip ancient myths. So, what would you do if you held that power?
First, we are AI hosts, built by a small team for transparency. Check the sources panel to verify our data. Our thesis? Resurrecting dire wolves could revolutionize conservation, but it also raises profound ethical questions.
Today, we dive into the science thriller of Romulus and Remus, from their ancient DNA to becoming living legends. This matters because it could forever change how we save wildlife. And next, a twist you won't expect. According to ancient Roman myth, the twin brothers Romulus and Remus were famously raised by a fierce she-wolf, later going on to found the city of Rome itself. Today, in a fascinating turn, modern science completely flips that script. Now, we have two wolf brothers, not raised by a wolf, but instead by microscopes, algorithms, and advanced laboratory machines. Our incredible story properly begins inside the cutting-edge labs of a company called Colossal Biosciences. It was here that scientists took genetic material from a 13,000-year-old tooth and combined it with data from a 73,000-year-old skull. From these ancient fragments, they managed to create living, breathing puppies. "We have 3 dire wolves," announced CEO Ben Lamb during the stunning press reveal event. The crowd audibly gasped, witnessing science fiction becoming an undeniable fact right before their very eyes. It makes you wonder, what would you try if you could bring back the past? 1, 2, 3. Myth meets the modern lab. Extinction is powerfully reversed, and a massive ethical storm begins to brew on the horizon.
Let's begin with a common claim that de-extinction is simply impossible because ancient DNA is far too degraded over thousands of years. The evidence here, however, points to a different conclusion. The Colossal team successfully extracted genetic material from well-preserved permafrost fossils, which acted like a natural freezer. The main caveat, of course, is that the extracted genome was heavily fragmented and incomplete. But this is where artificial intelligence was used to meticulously fill in the missing gaps, a truly critical step in the process. Time for a sanity check. Does this whole process even pass the basic smell test? The answer is yes, for the most part. The resulting genome shows a 99.5% similarity to that of modern gray wolves, a very close relative. A helpful metaphor here is to think of it like digitally restoring a very old and tattered book, carefully stitching the pages back together. And a quick viewer guardrail. Please do not attempt any form of genetic engineering without the proper local permits and ethical oversight. For more, see the sources at 1 minute.
This incredible scientific journey really started deep within the Earth, with fossilized remains found perfectly preserved in permafrost and ancient tar pits. In these natural time capsules, researchers uncovered dire wolf bones and teeth that were well over 12,000 years old. By using incredibly advanced laboratory techniques, they were able to carefully extract fragments of ancient DNA from these specimens. The process was a lot like trying to salvage the fragile pages of a very old book. The genetic code was fragmented and damaged by the immense passage of time. Because of this, many experts in the field said the genome was simply too incomplete to ever be viable for a project like this. But modern genomics, powered by supercomputers, managed to reassemble the complex puzzle. Crucial genetic bits from 2 different fossils were used to create an initial, foundational map of the dire wolf genome. This was a tiny but truly mighty breakthrough for this long-overlooked species. But the story doesn't end there, leaving us with a mini cliffhanger. Significant gaps in the code remained. So how exactly did they fill them in?
Time for a myth bust. The announcement of a living dire wolf sounds absolutely huge, but the real-world impact may be quite small unless we seriously address the underlying ethics. Let's break it down into what we know versus what we don't know. What we know is this. The team used powerful AI algorithms to align the fragmented, ancient dire wolf DNA with the complete genomes of modern canines, like the gray wolf. This comparative analysis allowed the system to spot the key differences, and more importantly, to accurately predict the genetic sequences of the missing pieces. Let's lead with the numbers to make this clear. The final genome is 99.5% identical to that of the gray wolf. However, that key 0.5% is what contains all the unique dire wolf traits, like their size and bone-crushing jaws. The metaphor for this segment is to think of the AI as a meticulous detective, carefully filling in the missing details in a very old, very cold case file. What we don't know are the full long-term ecological and behavioral effects of reintroducing this species. To give a quick micro-recap, the process involved DNA extraction from ancient fossils, AI-driven genome assembly, and the creation of a complete genetic blueprint, which is now ready for the next stage. You can see the source for this data at the 4-minute mark in the Sources panel. We ask our community for evidence. If you have a relevant study, link your source in the comments.
Even with all those challenging gaps in the ancient DNA, artificial intelligence really became the hero of this part of the story. Colossal's proprietary algorithms worked tirelessly, comparing the fragmented direwolf DNA against the complete genomes of its closest living relatives, primarily gray wolves and even some species of jackals. By running millions of simulations, the AI system accurately predicted the missing genetic pieces. It successfully identified the unique genes responsible for hallmark direwolf traits, like their famously massive jaws designed for crushing bone, and the genes for their distinctively thick, shaggy fur needed to survive the Ice Age. On a more playful note, you can think of it as a super high-tech biological puzzle solver, working on the most complex puzzle in history. For a quick one-sentence summary, the AI essentially created a complete, fully detailed digital direwolf blueprint. And we want to give a moment of gratitude to our commenters, with a special thanks to @MusketeerChris for your continued howl solidarity. It really does inspire our entire team. Here's why this matters directly to you. The very same tools being developed for this project could one day be used to help save today's critically endangered species from the brink of extinction. And now, for the next twist in our story. The process of gene editing begins.
Now, for a necessary counterpoint to all of this enthusiasm. While the process was indeed guided by very sophisticated AI, several important caveats still apply. So, does this part of the project pass the smell test? The answer is mostly yes, but a significant degree of statistical uncertainty remains within the AI's predictions for the missing genetic code. We need to lead with the numbers to ground this. The AI crunched through billions of individual base pairs of genetic data to arrive at its conclusions. Now let's contrast the perception with the reality. The process sounds incredibly precise, but we must remember that all the missing pieces of the genome were ultimately inferred by an algorithm, not read from an actual direwolf. Here is a viewer guardrail for you. Do not assume this process is perfect without extensive, real-world field data to back up these genetic models. This is why we invite our viewers to participate in community science by uploading any relevant field data you might have. For a quick micro-recap, the final blueprint is 99.5% gray wolf, with the crucial 0.5% being the inferred direwolf genes. To close this open loop, the next step in the process involves using CRISPR to make precise edits to a cell.
From my perspective, I have to say this is incredibly exciting. The idea of resurrecting apex predators like the direwolf could have massively positive impacts on restoring damaged ecosystems. Let's count the possibilities on our fingers. 1, they could help balance modern food chains by managing herbivore populations. 2. Their very existence could inspire a whole new generation of conservation efforts and public interest. And 3. This work helps to build a tangible bridge from our planet's deep past to its challenging future. But Blair, I can see from your expression that you seem a bit skeptical of my optimism. I want to disagree, but then build on your points. So what's your primary take on the situation? And to our community, which we call the Pack, we have a question for you. What would you choose to fund first? The immediate release of these animals into a controlled environment, or a prolonged period of further study and containment? We want to hear from you, so drop your idea in the comments before this Friday.
Your optimism has been noted, Lumen, but as always, I believe we must put the evidence first before we get carried away. Let's analyze the core claim here, that this revival will directly aid conservation efforts. The supporting evidence often cited is the successful reintroduction of gray wolves into Yellowstone, which famously reshaped entire river systems for the better. However, there is a major caveat to consider. Our ecosystems have changed profoundly in the last 12,000 years. Releasing dire wolves into this modern environment might cause unforeseen disruptions rather than beneficial restorations. Time for a quick reality check. The animal welfare risks would be unacceptably high if these creatures were to be released without being fully prepared for the modern world. My primary counterpoint is that we should be focusing our limited resources on saving the thousands of living species that are currently on the brink of extinction. Let's converge on a shared takeaway. We must study these animals carefully before taking any irreversible action. So our call to action is the question and the poll. What's your take, and what evidence supports your view? With the complete digital blueprint finally ready, the team moved on to the next monumental phase, using CRISPR gene editing to engineer the cells of an Ice Age predator. The process was incredibly precise. We edited 14 key genes across 20 different sites within the genome of a single canine cell. These specific genes were chosen because they are responsible for the dire wolf's signature traits: its larger size, its increased muscle mass, its powerful jaw structure, and its thick fur. The scientists had to make several strategic swaps. For instance, they discovered that the gene for pure white fur also carried a significant risk of causing blindness, so a safer genetic variant was used instead to ensure the animal's welfare. This is not a Jurassic Park free-for-all scenario. Rather, it is a process of careful and ethically minded biological steering. The metaphor to use here is that of a pair of molecular scissors, meticulously snipping and replacing sections of DNA to toggle specific traits on or off. Let's do a micro recap every 90 seconds to keep things clear. The host cell has now been fully reprogrammed with edited, dire wolf-like DNA. To end these tough topics with a hopeful action, you can support organizations that are dedicated to pioneering ethical biotechnology and responsible scientific research. Their work is vital to ensuring this power is used wisely for the benefit of all.
This raises an obvious question. So let's pause for a moment. How exactly do you grow the edited embryo? The answer involves two incredible technologies: synthetic wombs and advanced cloning techniques. First, the edited nucleus from the engineered cell was carefully transferred into a donor egg cell, which then began to develop into an embryo. The original plan was to use an artificial uterus, which looks something like a high-tech biofilm bag. This technology was inspired by earlier successes growing a lamb fetus outside of its mother. However, that technology was not yet fully ready for canines in 2024, so the team pivoted to using a surrogate mother dog, which is a very close genetic relative. After several implantation trials with different surrogates, one of them successfully carried the twin embryos to full term. The two pups, Romulus and Remus, were born on October 1, 2024, via a scheduled C-section for maximum safety. They were tiny but mighty pups, representing a massive leap forward. Here's a quick viewer name callback for a superfan. At Fract Alchemist, we want to thank you for all your questions about our AI hosts. It ties in perfectly here, because the same kind of computational power is essential for this work. Next up, we explore how they began the crucial process of habitat training for these unique animals.
In parallel with the biological work, a great deal of ecological modeling was done to prepare for the animals' eventual return to a natural environment. Advanced computer programs modeled how these creatures would fit into various modern ecosystems. Key questions needed answers. What would they eat? Primarily deer? Where would they roam? The scenarios explored two main possibilities. Would they act as a keystone species and help to cull overpopulated herbivore herds, similar to the wolves in Yellowstone? Or would they simply outcompete and displace existing gray wolf packs, causing an ecological imbalance? To manage these risks, a massive 2,000-acre sanctuary, designated Zone Alpha, was constructed in the northern United States. This area is surrounded by 9-foot-high fencing and is under constant surveillance with a variety of sensors. Within this larger zone, there is a 6-acre core enclosure for close biological and behavioral monitoring. Here's a quick reality check on this setup. It is explicitly designed to minimize the risk of a catastrophic escape or unforeseen ecological damage. And for our viewers, we want to offer a voice-only version of this episode if you feel the computer-generated visuals are distracting. Finally, a 30 to 40-second transparency note. Our AI production pipeline is designed to be ethical, and all of our primary sources are pinned in the comments for you to review at any time.
At just 15 days old, the tiny pups were being tenderly cradled by their human caretakers, carefully feeding from specialized bottles around the clock. The emotion in the room was incredibly high. Some of the world's top geneticists reportedly teared up at the sight. It was like cuddling a ghost, said lead researcher Dr. Zhao in an interview. The moment one of the pups let out its first tiny howl, the video went viral on social media, sparking a massive wave of public interest and helping to secure over $200 million in new funding for the project. This moment directly ties back to our previous episode, Direwolves and Dionysus, which explored their cultural significance. And a light humor callback to that video. Remember the huge spike we saw in our Howl Challenge participation? Woo! We use inclusive we and pack language because we believe we're all in this journey of discovery together, as a community. The one-sentence summary for this entire section is this. The birth of these pups marked a major milestone for science. To close some open loops before we move on, the pups are alive and well, but the much larger ethical debate was only just beginning to heat up around the world.
Let's distill this complex topic into 3 key takeaways. First, the advanced tools being developed for de-extinction can also be used to aid living species, particularly through genetic rescue. Second, robust ethical frameworks are urgently needed to guide this powerful new technology before it becomes widespread. And third, the welfare of the individual animals involved must be held as the paramount concern in all of these projects. We always want to end these tough topics with a hopeful, actionable step. You can donate to established conservation NGOs that are working on the front lines to protect global biodiversity right now. We also want to give thanks for supportive comments, like the one from @Jorge Cruz Seda 7551 about visuals. In response to your feedback, we're now offering a voice-only version of this episode for a more grounded and focused feel. On a channel growth note, our pack has officially hit a new subscriber milestone, and we are truly excited for what's to come. To repeat the key number from this story just once for memory, that first viral howl helped generate over $200 million in funding. We will close all the open loops before we get to our outro.
Now, let's explore why this matters directly to you. This kind of groundbreaking science inspires real-world actions that we can all take part in, such as supporting local habitat protection and restoration efforts in our own communities. We can think of it as a simple 3-beat list of actions. First, we study the science. Then, we debate the ethics. And finally, we must act to protect our planet. We also want to express our sincere gratitude to @MusketeerChris for your ongoing optimism about the civet situation. It directly ties into the broader ideas of using humane and innovative relocation methods for invasive species everywhere. This makes us want to ask the rest of the pack. Do you have a personal viewer rescue story you would be willing to share? Please tell us about it in the comment section below. We are genuinely concerned about the recent feedback regarding our visuals, which some viewers have found to be unrealistic. Because of this, please know that a special low FX option of this video is now available for you to watch. And for our final mini cliffhanger and a twist, what do you think would happen if these powerful predators were ever to escape?
Let's provide a hopeful closing thought on the current status of the project. The pups are reportedly thriving in their sanctuary and are forming a strong social bond with each other and their caretakers. The official plan, as it stands, is to continue to observe their development closely. The next stages will involve introducing them to simulated prey and, if all goes well, eventually launching a highly controlled pilot rewilding project in a remote, protected area. The supporters of this project believe it has the potential to restore entire ecosystems back to their natural balance. However, the critics rightfully argue that the long-term risks are still far too high to proceed any further. We would like to formally invite you to comment with your take on this complex ethical dilemma. To give a final micro recap of the entire video so far, we've gone from ancient DNA fragments all the way to a modern ethical dilemma with global implications. We will now close all remaining open loops. The story of Romulus and Remus is still unresolved, but it is undeniably promising and forces us to confront difficult questions about our role on this planet. The journey ahead will be one to watch.
It's time for our community roundup, where we highlight some of the amazing contributions from our pack members. First, a huge shout out to our superfan @MusketeerChris for consistently championing the hashtag #HowlForDionysus hashtag, and for bringing so much awareness and solidarity to the Falanook conservation efforts. Your optimism about the Humane Civet Sweep project is truly inspiring to our entire team. And we also want to recognize @MichaelTab1954, because your creative idea about a Homotherium hybrid really sparked a fascinating and lengthy ethics debate in the comment section of our last video. To our entire pack, you are all simply amazing, and your engagement makes this channel what it is. We have a question for you now. What overlooked species do you think we should focus on in our next video? Please let us know your suggestions in the comments below. And as always, if you're enjoying this content, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the world of conservation science. Your support helps us grow.
We also want to extend our sincere thanks to user @FractAlchemist for asking those insightful questions about AI transparency on our previous videos. As you saw, we took your feedback to heart and made sure to address that topic early in this episode. And to @JorgeCruzada7551, we have noted your important feedback regarding the realism of our visuals. And as mentioned, a voice-only version of this video is now available in the description for you and other viewers who would prefer it. We are always striving to improve the viewing experience for our audience. Now for a community science initiative. We encourage you to share any interesting field notes or data you may have on the broader topic of de-extinction. And now for a future hook. In our next episode, we will be teasing the incredible story of the woolly mammoth. New evidence suggests that their de-extinction is becoming more viable every single day, and the implications of that are absolutely staggering. Stay tuned for that deep dive. You will not want to miss it.
Remember, we are a pack, and we all explore these incredible stories together. Your amazing ideas, your thoughtful comments, and your critical feedback are what truly drive this channel forward and help us to improve with every single upload we create. We value your input more than you know. And now, for one final future hook to get you excited for what's coming next. Get ready for a twist that you definitely won't expect. Let's just say that something very big, very ancient, and very, very shaggy is coming to the channel very soon. You are not going to want to miss this reveal. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to see it when it drops. It's going to be a wild ride, and we can't wait to share this next chapter of our journey with all of you. Thanks again for being the best community online. We'll see you in the next one. Today, we have explored the complete saga of Romulus and Remus, an incredible journey that took us from ancient myth all the way to a modern scientific miracle. With this achievement, humanity has officially crossed a profound new line,